this too will pass. Either we wait for the thunderclouds to cross, or we adapt and make the best of the situation and craft a path forward in a brave new world. Yeah, I'm very happy to introduce you to our guest speaker, Mr. Eddie Lee, our seasoned transformational strategist and often sought after speaker. Eddie has many accolades behind him. He has recently been appointed as an international partner to represent Singapore in the Global Startup Leaders Committee of the World Business Angels Investment Forum. Previously, Eddie was the ED of SHRI. Prior to that, he was the regional CHRO for a European MNC, covering 24 countries in the Asia-Pacific region, where his primary role involved overseeing the region's HR, ethics and compliance, sustainability, and corporate CSR. So this is supposed to be a conversation. So if there's any questions, please feel free, to post at the Q&A, and Eddie, will address these questions at the end. Yeah, so Eddie, welcome, and thank you so much, for willing to speak to us and share your insights with our audience. I understand that recently you have just completed, like a research or study, on the policies in Southeast Asia surrounding remote working, and business transformation. Maybe you want to start off by sharing a little bit about, that finding with our audience today.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Annie. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Annie and AYP for inviting me for this session. Yeah, back to your question. What happened was I was having another webinar session with Eurochamp and also German Champ last week, and the topic was working from anywhere, which is basically remote working, which includes working from home as well. So, so I touched a little bit about legislation or policies and procedures, even within the company as well. So I've done some research for ASEAN. I was going through the different countries, the 10 different ASEAN countries, and it's very interesting to find out that out of the 10 countries, only one country actually do have the remote working policy or work from home policy, which is from Philippines. So in 2018, December 2018, they actually do already started this called the Telecommuting Act. They actually had that in 2018, December 2018. Then this year they are actually going to table this WFH policy, which allows the employee to request to work from home, especially due to this COVID situation. So other than that, the rest of the country, even including Singapore, we do not have such a policy. So it's very much left to the respective country, or rather the companies within the country to make the decision. But so long as they actually comply with the labor laws within the country itself. So that is a general finding that we have. For Singapore itself, we do not have a policy, but we have something quite close to a policy, which is that the government actually stipulated that before anyone, any company that want to allow the employee to go back to office to work, they need to comply with certain guidelines. And what happened is that the Singapore government will do a lot of spot checks. And in the event that the company do not abide by these guidelines, the government, the MOM will actually issue stop work or remedial orders. So that is quite close to a work from home policy that we are talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So in the context of Singapore, now that we are at our phase 2, so a lot of companies are kind of like also like need to make a decision, like planning forward, what are they going to do, whether they are going to bring their workforce back to the office or whether they are going to continue. Some companies, naturally some MNC choose like to 100% still, work from home. So what is your take? What is your recommendation, for companies like at the crossroad now, they are planning ahead, with what to do?
Okay, so before I talk about this situation, let's talk about some of the very interesting policy that has the company has taken in the past couple of years. So one of it is the unlimited annual leave. I think that we are very familiar with that a couple of years ago about unlimited annual leave. So when one company started to talk about this, it became the talk of the town, and a lot of the big brand names started to actually embark on that. Interestingly, of course, there are certain value for doing that, and that is what the companies, those who are implemented that is what they're advocating. But there is also surveys that actually shows that those companies actually implemented that. A year later, they actually revert back to the standard annual leave of the country. That is the reason for that, because they found out that a lot of the employees do not actually take the annual leave at all, or they even take lesser annual leave as what they previously allowed to. There's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is because, example, I am the employee and I'm going to take annual leave. Okay, but what happened is I'm fearful that if I take the annual leave, somebody has to do my job. Okay, so there is a peer pressure about that, and as such, because of the peer pressure, a lot of them, they do not take the annual leave. So and the people are getting more stressed, and even for those who take the annual leave, the peers are actually very upset about them, with them. So that is the reason why at the end of the day, this employee are actually having more mental issues, okay, more pressure, and actually affects the productivity. So as such, the company actually went back, okay, to the previous policy to follow the legal legislation requirement to offer them the annual leave. So that at least when people want to take the annual leave, they know that it's within their stipulated, I would say that is the rights, okay? So nobody can question them, and everybody has an equal number. So taking reference from that, at the same time, right now we look at COVID. Previously, we already have a lot of things. We already have a policy in place for remote working, including work from home and all this. It was not very popular. Okay, I mean, there are companies who actually implemented that, but a lot of companies are very cautious about that, and they are more resistant to put that in place. There is also a couple of reasons for that. One of it is really Singapore is really such a small country. Is it really a big issue of working from home and also working from office or remote working? So same thing is that previously when this remote working that are made available, a lot of companies also starting to put that in place. But what happened is that a lot of the employees also start facing, when they start doing that, and now they're also requesting, hey, I think I want to come back to work in the office for a few reasons. One is that it actually have social impact because they don't interact with people as much. I think we can go a little bit more deeper in that discussion. Then also sometimes if I work at home, there are a lot of distractions. And then the thing is, if I work from home and if I don't respond as quickly, my boss will think that I am actually not working or I'm just relaxing at home. So that is why before the COVID situation, that is why it is not very popular. With the COVID, it is now become kind of a norm. But the question is, after the COVID has passed on, I will not say that it's going to go away, but I think that we are definitely going to manage the situation. Would working from home or remote working become a norm? I would say that there are some companies actually say that now from moving forward, every employee of this company is going to work from home. There are a lot of companies are not so are very cautious about that as well, because is it really practical to do that? There are a lot of issues that we have to really consider. Of course, the company that are willing to move towards that, one good benefit will be it reduced rental cost. Because if all my employees not going to come to office, why do I even need office, and why do I need even pay rental or get a place? So and most of the time, a huge business cost is actually rental. At least.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. You know, like this is like this come quite sudden. So to many companies, especially local SMEs, you know, so they are now like kind of like forced, you know, to work from home. Yeah, but we're now returning, right? Are they going to be returning back to normal, which is going to be unlikely? But if they do that right, I think a lot of SMEs bosses, they are still very unsure about the productivity, how to measure productivity, of workers working from home. Like they always like think that sometimes they think that if people are not responding, maybe they are not working or things like that, right? Yeah, so this is like one major concern. The other concern is really the engagement, right? So the engagement of the employees, how do they really continue to engage the employees, so that the employees has the similar experience of like working from home and also in the office. Yeah, so how do you see that? How do you think SMEs, could be educated? Because SMEs form the major workforce in Singapore, and also they hire the biggest number of Singaporeans or Singapore workers or people in Singapore. Yeah.
Okay. So we take one question at a time. So I think
sure.
the first one is really to talk about how would SME actually react to, how should they respond to this situation? One is about performance. So I would say that first of all, SME, a lot of them, they need to shift the mindset from monitoring or thinking productivity got to do with the number of hours to really about deliverables, okay, the outcomes and the project accomplishment. So I would say that a lot of the SME, not just within Singapore, but globally, a lot of them are still measuring employees' productivity based on hours. Because it's the easiest way, whether is it really true, but it's the easiest way to measure. Because they really do not know how to measure in other way. But I think the COVID, first of all, forced us to actually shift our mindset to really focus on the deliverables. But then again, also have to look at the company, the industry nature and all this. It's not going to be one size fit all or one solution going to solve everything. Because these deliverables, sometimes you have to look at what industry are you in. Example, if you are in F&B, it's quite impossible. You actually need the people to be there. So that is something that it may not be practical. Or even within the company itself, you cannot just apply the same policy for everybody, because you have to look at those who are in blue collar, those who are in white collar, even those who are in white collar, what role are they actually doing? So it is actually a very complex one. And that is really the time when the HR and the management to step out to really relook at every job to evaluate which one actually makes sense to work from home, are the ones that still have to come back to office to work. But and then for those who are coming back to office to work, then how are we going to have the flexible working arrangement? That means we have alternate groups, whether it's 2 groups, 3 groups, and make sure that there is no overlapping and kind of thing. So these are some of the things that we have to consider. And then those are working from home. I would say that I don't think that it should be a policy where everybody's going or the group of people go work from home throughout the whole week. What they can do is maybe they can do like 3 times a week that they work from home, and 2 times a week they actually come to office. So I would say that let's look at hybrid kind of solution rather than one standard kind of solution.
Yeah. Agree.
So this will also help a little bit about employee engagement as well.
Okay. Yeah. At least at days where they come back to office, they can actually interact, with their team members. Yeah. Because like what you say, there are people who like work from home for too long, and then they can't cut. Like at least like working in the office, like 5:30, 6 o'clock, that is the time you go home. And when you get home, you have your own life and all this. But when you are at home, so sometimes you work until like sometimes midnight. I have heard, real experience of people, people close to me working cross like until 5 a.m. Yeah, that kind. So it's like because the volume, they see a volume surge. They are in technology, so they see a volume surge. So they work until very, very late, and that is not just one day. It's like consistently, throughout the whole week. Yeah, and that is very detrimental in this long term.
We have to come up with a plan of how do we really want to move towards the future. Because the thing is, it's not so easy to say everybody work from home and that's it. You need to make sure that technology is in place. You need to make sure that you have enough data security. You need to make sure that you have enough data itself to store. Because right now, we are still very much storing data or storing a lot of things in physical form. So now, because we're not going to go back to office, a lot of things we cannot access. So the thing is, we need to move to the digital storage. And then first of all, have we invested enough storage or not, the digital storage? So if not, then how are we going to access to a lot of things? So these are some of the considerations that we need to think and to put in place to ease the whole process, rather than straight away, oh, we want to move, we just move.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree totally with you, because in this period, right, our software, which is on cloud, we see a surge in demand, because of like companies really like, if they get a cloud software, they can, really access the data anywhere, any place. Whereas if let's say they are processing HR, payroll, whatever, right, on a on-prem solution, they need to go back to office, which is not very practical, in the long term. Yeah. So of course, other than HR, there are other accounting software and everything. They need to find a solution to really store this data with easy access and with a good security. Right?
Correct. Yeah. But like talking about simply the renter is, I mean, as much as we identify this is definitely a big cost that we can save, but it doesn't mean we can save immediately, because we already have a lease agreement. Correct.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't mean you can terminate straight away.
True.
You need to look at where is the termination, or rather where is it, and then maybe instead of you having a big space, now you can reduce it smaller. So that also goes to another topic that I can talk about, would be like desking. Okay, so I do see that could be another way that we can move into really that talks about hot desking, so that we do not need such a big space, because some people is going to work from home, some people is going to be in office. But then again, the question would be, if you're going to go into hot desking, I know that a couple of years ago, Mercer actually moved into that. And of course, the employer actually do have some concern with that. Oh, now I don't have my own private place, and where do I store my things? Even though I know I have my locker, but the thing is, every time I need to go to my locker, I need to fight for a place. So these are some of the mindset that we need to make sure that we address and have to shift. Yeah, but definitely rental, lease, and all this is actually a major cost that we can actually look at saving.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I mean, I also want to hear your views on like a bit on traveling, because I think right now for COVID, right, it's kind of limit, people to really travel, at least in the next 3 to 6 months. There's a lot of constraint. So in terms of like leisure travel or business travel, so for these two areas, I know it's like two broad area. So maybe you can cover the business first, then you can talk a little bit on the leisure travel. Yeah. So for business travel, for companies that really need, to expand overseas and they cannot physically go there, right? Because of this COVID thing, what do you advise companies to do?
Okay, I don't think that there is a total restriction of business travel. I think that the government already put in place to allow traveling, but it also depends on the recipient country whether they actually allow. But more and more countries are actually opening up, but they are only opening up, or they call the green lane for business travel. So actually, business travel is still allowed. So, like example, the only thing for Singapore, people who are residing in Singapore and traveling overseas for business travel, the only thing that you need to take note, besides the other side, whether they actually allow you to go into the country, is when you are coming back to Singapore. The only thing that you need to take note is that there will be a quarantine. Okay, and I understand, if I'm not mistaken, I think I read somewhere that you're not going to be quarantined at home. I think you need to be quarantined in a hotel, a designated place. And then I think for the 14 days quarantine, it costs about 2,000 Singapore dollars. So you just need to make sure that you budget that in as part of your business travel when you come back. So, but if you go to overseas, I would say that it really depends on, is it a totally green field that you are going to go into the country to expand? Because if you are thinking of doing that right now, it can be quite a big challenge because you have not been to the place, or you need to be physically there to start the whole thing. Okay. So, but if you are just talking about you already have operations in a certain country, just talking about expansion, then maybe you can do frequent business travel. Another thing is that because you have operations over in those countries, so you can still rely on the local people to manage it. But if you're talking about really going open a new place, I think this is a time where you need to really consider, unless it's so critical and this is the best time, or rather you are trying to ride on this COVID situation to expand to the country. If not, try to hold back. And also because it's not easy to get a lot of approval. It's not like Singapore whereby you want to set up a company, you can do it digitally and you get approval almost immediately. So those places you need to go to the government officials building to do that, and it's going to be very, very tough. It's going to get even tougher. So hold back if it's possible.
Yeah, you know what? Eddie, we saw this phenomenon because in this period, right? Companies also take the opportunity, to hire overseas talents. Yeah, because right now, right, your talent is no longer just limited to your own country. And also we have a lot of requests like in Philippines, in Indonesia, companies, MNCs from US, they hire already. They just pocket under us like employer record, services. So they can actually hire talents, globally. So right now your talent is really global. It's no longer just limited, to your country. So this is actually the advantage that came out of COVID lah.
Yeah, correct. So this is a very interesting thing that you brought up because I actually just launched this cross-border virtual internship. So I just want Annie introduce that I'm now with ASEAN Human Development Organization as an executive director. So one of the things that we came out with, we actually just completed a white paper on that. To talk about cross-border internship, we are trying to advocate among the ASEAN country. And so far, Malaysia is the one that has the more comprehensive policy for that at the national level, governmental level. So we are trying to advocate that, but the main issue is visa. So before the COVID, we were trying to gather more information about visa and then come up with some recommendation. But because of COVID, we had to put this on hold. So then about a month ago, I have a conversation with one of my friends, and we came across this very interesting thing that calls virtual internship. So it's really so that's the reason why now I begin to combine cross-border. So I call it cross-border virtual internship. So that means, but I'm actually piloting between Singapore and Vietnam right now. But I already have Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Maldives already they're keen to come on board on this program as well. Yeah. So we actually find opportunity in Singapore. Example, we find opportunity in Singapore or find opportunity in Vietnam. Then we open up to the student across the different countries. So
that's interesting.
Have the opportunity. Then how we're going to facilitate that. So this is just on virtual internship. But at the same time, you're right to talk about the employment as well. So that's the reason we are now looking at gig workers.
Yeah. So on that context about like employment, whether interns or trainees or full-time employees, right? What do you foresee the future of work and also like the skills needed for individuals to really thrive, now?
Okay, so this is a very interesting topic again because since last year when I was with Singapore Human Resource Institute, Peg came with the CHRO for Public Service Division. We have been speaking at a number of occasions that talk about the future of work. And she actually made a very interesting comment to say that the future of work may not necessarily be about functional roles anymore. It will be tasks. So just talking about HR itself, okay? I mean, we are HR practitioners. So just for HR itself, I can do a generalist role, but at the same time, I can break my role into recruitment, talent acquisition, and I can break into compensation benefits with salary and payroll and all this, and then learning and development and so forth. I can break my work into all these sub roles, and then for these sub roles, I can break them into tasks. So, like example, for recruitment itself, I can actually do hiring. I can do interviews. I can do sourcing. I can do a lot more things. I can do employee branding as well. So, like example, if I want to break them into tasks, so would the job be really require a HR person to do it, or can I actually hire a branding person, which is a marketing person?
Yeah.
So in a sense, moving forward, it's quite interesting to say that I may not necessarily need to hire a HR person to do HR job. Okay, I mean, I can even hire an accountant to do payroll, or somebody who is so good in numbers, and also I can hire a finance person to do analytics. Okay, because the financial analysis, they can actually help me to do HR analysis as well. So then that's because I break down the jobs role into tasks. So that is how a lot of things is going to move forward. Whereby we talk about a lot of diversity of people in a certain job function. No longer just the so that means it doesn't really require HR person just to do HR job. I can actually require a finance, accountant, operations person to do HR job, and vice versa as well. So I would say this is one of the future trend that we are going to look at. So that is the reason why a lot of employees should start to shift the mindset to say, hey, I'm a marketing person. But the thing is, what are really the skill set that I have that I can transfer across to different roles? Then you have more opportunities. And you're hedging. So in financial terms, we also talk about hedging. So in manpower terms, I think we can talk about hedging as well, so that you no longer be restricted to a certain roles. And then if there's no such role, and then that's the end of your career.
Okay, so Eddie, we have a lot of questions that's coming in, from pouring in from the audience. So maybe we can address some of them. Okay. So one of them asked, okay, this one to me also is $1 million question. You can answer. Okay, the first question is, when do you think phase 3 will happen?
Okay, if I'm going to answer that, it means that I'm able to win the 4D or Toto.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't think even our Prime Minister knows the answer. I don't think even he knows that as a head of state, or even our head of state, which is the president. I don't think anybody knows that. I think we are looking at whether are we going to have the vaccine. And yesterday night, interestingly, I was watching a a Facebook Live, whereby there are a group of doctors that actually coming out to say that actually the hydrochlorine, is it, or something like that, is a solution. Actually, is a solution.
Really?
There's one doctor actually came out and say that she has administered to about 300 over people, and all of them are still alive. All of them are actually recovering. So zero fertility rate. So zero death rate. So the thing is, so she's saying that, hey, this is actually the solution, except that because of pharmaceutical stopping it, because it actually affects their profitability.
Yeah, the vaccine research
going on about that. So, but at the same time, there are also companies that talk about vaccine. So we just wait for the vaccine. Be patient about that. Okay. I think let's not focus about the phase 3. Okay, because first of all, we don't even know the answer. So why waste our time to think about that? Rather than I focus on the phase 2, how are we going to find a solution in phase 2? And even after we go into phase 3, phase 2 kind of norm will stay. So I think we need to think about that.
Yeah. So okay, so on the phase 2 thing, right? I think the fundamentals is really like the business transformation.
Yeah.
Like how do you digitalize, your business, and how you innovate and all this. So in a short period of time, can you give some tips to our audience? Like what is the fastest way, they can actually digitalize their business?
Okay, honestly speaking, I may not really want to, I don't really like to recommend shortcuts. Because if I recommend that, you can find a solution right now, but it may have a longer impact on the business.
Sure.
I think first of all, I normally what I'll do is that I'll look at the objective, the goal of the organization, the strategy, and then after that, I'll look at finding the right solution for that. And first of all, I don't think this should be a decision made by the CEO. I think that the CEO, if he's a smart CEO, he'll gather his team of leadership, his leadership team, a group of people coming together, including the CFO, the CHRO, the operations director, the marketing person, all coming together to sit down. How do we operationalize it? How do we actually digitalize the whole organization? So not just from one perspective, but really at the whole organization. So the good thing is that our government grant, they can tap into that. That is where probably it'd be good to get to find out what are the grants that is available out there, so you can actually tap into that. So this will help to defray the certain cost. But more importantly, don't do that for the sake of getting the grant, but really how does it really help your organization? So recently, I got one organization actually asking me to advise them on the total rewards, which is about the job leveling or this thing. So besides recommending a certain approach, I was telling them that, look, I can come with a solution, but more importantly, I would like to help you to digitalize it as well. So that means it's not just a typical traditional way of coming a framework for that, but it's in how to tap into what are the available technology. So I will also move into the whole conversation talking about beside salary benchmarking and all these things, you should also start to look about employee engagement. That I talked about the pulse survey. So I recommended Engage Rocket. So it's one of the very good solution you can think about that.
HR startup, right?
Yes, correct. Actually, they're no longer a startup. They have been there for about 3, 4, 5 years already. I got to know them about, I think, at least in 2017. But they have already been in the market for at least 1 to 2 years before 2017. So also learning and development as well. So I'll talk to them about Nobi as well. So there's quite a number of technology out there that are quite interesting. That I strongly suggest that from a HR perspective to really look into that, even for finance, even for engaging, even like managing administration. How do you manage projects as well? How do you make sure that people feedback and all this? So there are a lot of technology out there. So just need to go and find out and maybe tap into some of the consultants to give you the advice.
Yeah. Okay. So the following question is quite tied hand in hand to what you have just responded, right? So there's this question from the audience that is, what are you doing to ensure a sustainable cash flow to tide through this pandemic? Because as you said about like spending on new technology and all this, so that is kind of like expenses. Companies also quite wary about where they should spend, because right now there's this saying, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king or queen. In my company right now it's queen lah, but so it's really like everyone is preserving cash, so they want to know like what can they do in terms of like to sustain their cash flow. So maybe this one I can also answer after yours.
Okay, so same thing. Actually, quite a few years ago, WIG actually invited me to speak at one of the events with the SME. So my statement to the SME present, whether are they the bosses or the HR, I say first of all, the objective of any organization, not excluding the non-profit organization and governmental, government ministry and all this, the objective is to make money. Let's face it. Okay, any for-profit organization is to make money. So my advice to all the HR is that even though we want to implement any digital transformation, so long as you cannot articulate that how the digital transformation can lead to productivity and financial result, positive financial result, don't waste your time. Even though how good it is, you're just wasting your time. Okay. So that is also one of the reasons why a lot of HR people are not finding value, or rather the business are not finding value with the HR, because they want to do a lot of things that is good, but ultimately they cannot articulate how it translates. Actually, it can translate, but just like they don't know how to articulate. So I think this is very important for any people in the organization need to articulate for any transformation. So that's the reason why we talk about the leadership team coming together to articulate about digital transformation. They need to really think through, if I'm going to digitalize, how does it actually transform positive financial results? Of course, I'm still not answering the question because you're talking cash flow, okay, immediate. So the immediate one, I would say that if I put myself in the shoe of the CEO, I think first of all, I will look at what are the technologies. Okay, I will first of all, I believe that a lot of the technology, they do have the so-called the free trial. Why are we not even using the free trial first? Okay, and test it out first. And then maybe whether is it possible to even enter into some negotiation with the technology company and say, hey, I've done the free trial, I like it. Is there any way that I can extend it to support me? I think that this is also a best time for us to try our negotiation skill, okay, to see that. Because anyway, the tech company, they also wants to have business, okay. I think that if they are smart enough, they will actually look at finding a win-win situation. I mean, but provided that you're really serious about using technology. So if you're really seriously using the technology, you can actually enter into some negotiation with them. Then at the same time, you can actually consider the government grant. But then again, the issue of a government grant so far is that you need to pay the money first. Okay, then they reimburse you. And then even though you get the in-principle approval, it doesn't mean that they will reimburse you the amount. I mean, this is my experience that I talked to enough SME bosses. Because after they give you the in-principle approval, you do the implementation, then they come and do the audit. And then if you don't meet the certain criteria, they will reduce or they may not even give you the grant. So it's a certain risk. But then again, if you talk about that, there is this grant that is available. So I would say that start as a pilot first. So normally what I'll do is that even if I want to do a transformation for my company, I will not roll out the whole company. It's not going to be something that's feasible. Normally I will start to do small, and as such I can actually use some free trial first. Okay, and then of course there are certain capability that I have access, but not the full thing. So I start with small, and then if it's successful and actually drive some good revenue, then after that I can roll out at a bigger scale.
Okay, so maybe I'll just also share, this topic from like my perspective, how we actually manage, our cash flow, during this pandemic period. So when this whole thing happened, this COVID-19 happened, right? The first thing we do is really to relook at our whole budget. Yeah, so we look at our budget, we revise, in fact, our target, to a more moderate level. Yeah, from now until the whole year of 2020. And we have this mindset, we always have this mindset, do we play to win or do we play not to lose? Because if I play not to lose, I will probably conserve cash, everything across the board, every single item, every budget, I will just cut everything away. But I think that's not the way to go, because you have to think like if the market picked up, are you placed in a position to compete again? So we take the play to win mindset, right? Like for example, when it comes to marketing, it's expense that if we cut the marketing, right, we cannot get leads and all this, and it will affect our sales subsequently. So like it is like talking about pantry item, nobody come back to office. So those are things that gone. Entertainment, gone. So that is the first thing that we do. Then the second thing that we do was that we really look at our aging, our collection. Really make sure that we collect very tightly, after the service is performed, when the bill is due, we call our clients, to really pay us. So our salespeople, operations people really follow up, the payment very closely. Yeah, because cash is really king, in this period. And I know that there's a temporary bridging loan offered by the government, guaranteeing the loan from the banks. So that's something that you could tap on also, because that's something that you can actually reserve the cash flow for rainy days. Like if the rainy days come, this is like the cash that you can use. Yeah, so that's how we
also very interesting. Just now you talk about marketing itself. So to share with you, I'm also having my own consulting company whereby right now I'm actually rolling out this applied career coaching certification. Yes. So initially, I actually budgeted about 20%, okay, of the revenue on the marketing part. So because of the COVID, and then at the same time, I was thinking, why do I need to pay 20% of my revenue to a marketing agency to help me to drive this? But the thing is, at the same time, I feel that a lot of the work they do is very reactive. They help me to create the awareness, but the thing is, it may not still generate revenue to me. It may not generate enough leads to me, or the leads will be reactive leads. So in the end, what I did is that I decided to embark on this called referral program. Okay, because first of all, referral is more powerful than just any marketing tool. Okay, So, and the thing is that I rather move all my marketing budget to give to agency. I rather give it to use it for referral. Okay, and the thing is that and the thing is that some people come to know about us. Okay, through the way that we do a webinar and all this. I mean, these are also a free kind of marketing tool. Okay, to create a brand awareness and all these things. So there are people who actually come to talk to us and they sell our program. Then at the end of the day, I don't need to even pay any fee because it's not a referral, correct? So I already saved the 20%. But then if they actually refer, then what happens is that they actually get the referral. So actually my marketing cost is actually much lower than what I'm budgeted. Okay. So it actually makes all of us become smarter, more creative. So I think ultimately is how do you want to save costs? How do you want to maintain your cash flow and all these things? It's really that you need to be creative. Okay, it's so like what you said earlier is, are we going to play to win or we play not to lose? Yes. Right. So the thing is that if we play to win, that means we need to have a very positive mindset, which also which means that we are always looking at opportunities. Okay? We are not deterred by the obstacle, but we are looking at even though there are obstacles, but what are the solutions? And we need to be very creative to find a solution. Okay, don't go and hit the wall. Okay, find another way to go into the house. Don't just hit the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, I really concur to that. I think the mindset of being positive is very, very important. Be it is the employee or be it is a employer, or anyone at this point in time, they need to have a positive mindset. Yeah. So okay, we have a question. There is an SG United traineeship. Okay, so this question is, what do you think of the salary scheme that the Singapore government is supporting? I think it's referring probably the JSS. Okay, the SG United traineeship. Any advice for businesses and candidates?
What kind of advice this person wants?
It's not specific. I guess it's like, okay, so I don't know, but I think from a candidate's perspective, probably is like, should they take the traineeship? Yeah, because I think we hire quite a few trainees recently for our company, about 9 of them actually. So we do know that they do have a concern in the beginning. It's like, oh, of course, permanent job is always more secured. Yeah, but right now it's like, should they take on a traineeship to pick up the skills first so that they can have actual working experience on their resume, so when they find a job, permanent job in the future, right, it's actually better for them.
Okay. So my question, example, if the person can ask me, should I take up the traineeship? My first question is, do you have any other options? Okay, if you have any other option which is a full-time job, then grab the full-time job. But if you do not have, then your next option is to sit at home and do nothing and have no salary. So if that is the case, do you prefer to be at home, have no money, but have all the free time that you have, okay, and leech on your family? Or do you prefer to go out and get a skill set, even though it's a temporary work? Okay, but the thing is, it actually offers you some experience and also a skill set to enhance the skill set, whether you have the skill set or not, but at least it helps you to enhance the skill set. So, and the thing is that, honestly speaking, I think that this is a very intelligent way that the government has, initiative the government has put in place, because honestly speaking, if I'm the company boss, if somebody coming to a company to do traineeship, I'll tell the person, you should pay me money. Because I offer you the opportunity to come and learn, and why should I be paying you? So same thing, like I go for education. Why am I paying the education institution and not the other way around? Yeah. So if that's the case, then why should the company actually pay you to learn? So if the company are already paying you, or the government is also paying you to learn, to enhance the skill set, you should be very grateful. And why are you still being very negative and say, oh, unless you really have a full-time job and you're very competent, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
So this is my perspective.
Yeah. Thank you. So okay, we have I think time is running out. I have one last question from Natalia Ng. Okay, but she posted 2 questions, so I tried to combine, and you see, how you're going to address that, Eddie. Okay, so she asked, how can startup company work towards a work-life balance, especially during pandemic? So are there any policies that can be implemented on startup companies such that bosses can't ask their employees to work after office hours?
Okay. So I can see that this person is very concerned about work-life balance. I think first of all, if you ask me personally, I don't believe in this thing called work-life balance. Okay, I'll believe in work-life integration. Okay, so like example, for myself, okay, a lot of people say I'm a workaholic, okay, or people say I'm a slave driver. The thing is, I actually enjoy my work so much that it is part of my work. And the thing is, how do you really want to separate between work and life? So are you really seriously, I mean, are we really seriously want to separate our work and life? So you're saying that you go out to mingle, social, and all these things, and this will have no impact on your work. I would say that when you go out to socialize with people, ultimately it actually benefit your work in the future. And likewise, your people that you interacted at work, whether is it your office or is it your client, they can be your friends. So the thing is, how are you going to separate? Are you going to say, okay, right now I'm going to do this, and now you are my colleague. I'm not going to talk to you any about social life. Or I go out, sorry, when we mingle, we cannot talk about anything about work. I don't think so. I would say that it's really how do we have integration to make sure that, but the thing is, I agree about balance in the sense you need to know when to end certain things. I think there is something that you need to have an agreement with your boss that I need my productivity period is how long. Okay, I need to take some short break whatsoever. Okay, so these are some of things that I think that you need to have a discussion with your employer and likewise also employee. There are also initiatives that already that the government has put in place to talk about flexible work arrangement and all these things. So there are grants for that as well. So tap into that. Even there are grants to help those people with special needs and all this kind of thing. So I would say that there are a lot of grants out there. Try to look into all the grants, but most importantly, I would say that it still goes back to the mindset of the employer and also the employee. I think we need to come up to the kind of agreement between the two.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie, so much. I mean, this is so informative, you know. Even for me, I learned a lot in this session. Yeah, you got so much wealth experience in HR, and you're so forward thinking in terms of, like, you know, really in terms of HR, and that will really benefit, you know, both our SMEs and also the MNC and our general workforce lah. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Our forward thinking, forward looking is because I talk to a lot of people. I hear different opinions, and then after that I form my own opinions as well. So thanks for
good.
Anyone who's interested can also connect me, connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook as well.
Yes, please feel free if you have any please connect with Eddie directly in LinkedIn. Yeah, what's your LinkedIn?
So my LinkedIn and Facebook is very simple. My username is Eddie LWP, EDDIE LWP.
Okay, thank you everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.